He may never say a single word about how he feels, but if you know what to look for, his body will tell you everything you need to know long before his voice ever does. Welcome to Decode His Mind, the place where we break down the silent language of attraction and uncover what his words never clearly say, but his actions always reveal. In today's video, we're diving into the hidden signs of how a man actually shows interest without saying it out loud. He is not going to come up to you and directly say, "I want to hug you." Most men simply don't express it like that. They don't announce their feelings in plain sentences or break everything down for you in a way that removes doubt. But long before any words could ever appear, his body has already been speaking for him. And chances are you've been seeing it without fully trusting what you saw. You've stood there, talked to him, shared space with him, and still found yourself questioning your own instincts. You told yourself you might be overthinking it. Maybe he's just naturally friendly. Maybe he behaves like this with everyone. Maybe you're reading too much into it because you want there to be something, so you dismissed it. You talked yourself out of it. But even after all that, something kept returning. That quiet feeling that wouldn't leave your chest. That subtle sense that something about the way he acts around you feels slightly different. Not random, not general, directed, personal. And deep down you felt that difference even if you couldn't explain it. You were not wrong. You just didn't have the clarity to understand what you were looking at. And that is what this is going to give you. Because once you understand these signs, you won't sit afterward replaying conversations, overthinking every detail, wondering what something meant. You will recognize it in real time without needing him to spell anything out. But before going into the signs, there's something important to understand first, because this is where most confusion begins. He doesn't just say it, because for many men, early emotions don't feel simple or safe enough to put into words. Saying something out loud makes it real in a way that can feel exposing. Real things can be rejected. Real things can change how two people relate to each other. And once that shift happens, it can't always be undone. So instead of speaking it, he shows it. He uses distance. He uses presence.
He uses behavior that repeats itself in small, subtle ways. Things that don't look meaningful on the surface, but carry meaning underneath if you know what to notice.
Most people were never taught to look for this. Many were taught to wait for words, to trust only what is clearly said. So they overlook everything else happening in between. And that is exactly why so many people stay unsure, even when the answer is already in front of them. So now let's break it down clearly. The first sign is that he keeps finding ways to be physically closer to you. And these moments don't always make obvious sense. It's not that he walks over with a clear reason every time. It's more subtle than that. He ends up near you without a strong necessity pulling him there. He stands beside you when there was space elsewhere. He pulls his chair closer when distance wasn't a problem. In groups, he positions himself next to you instead of across from you, even when the conversation would have worked better that way. He drifts into your space again and again without any real reason beyond simply being there. And the key thing is this: it's not planned in a calculated way. He is not sitting there thinking, "I should move closer now." It's more instinctive. When someone feels drawn to another person, their body naturally reduces distance before their mind fully rationalizes it. It's not strategy, it's pull. So when you notice that he consistently ends up close to you, when space between you quietly disappears throughout an interaction, don't brush it off as coincidence or randomness. That is him choosing proximity in the most natural way he can without saying anything at all. The second sign is small, unnecessary touch. Not the obvious kind, not dramatic or intentional gestures, the subtle ones that are easy to dismiss. He brushes past your arm when there was enough space not to. He lightly touches your back while walking through a doorway. He fixes something small on your clothing or briefly moves your hair, and the contact lasts just a little longer than it needs to. He playfully bumps into you during a laugh when words alone would have been enough. These moments matter because touch is never truly neutral. People are selective with it even when they don't realize it. When someone sees you only as a casual connection, they don't create excuses for contact. They keep a normal boundary. But when there is attraction that hasn't been clearly defined yet, the body starts testing closeness in very small ways. Quick contact, brief moments, almost accidental but not really. Each touch is a quiet check-in, a way of seeing how it feels, a way of noticing your reaction without making it obvious that he's paying attention to it. And if you stay relaxed, if you don't pull away, if you remain open in those moments, that response stays with him. It encourages it to happen again. The third sign is extended eye contact. In normal conversation, eye contact comes and goes naturally. People look at each other, then away, then back again. It flows without pressure. But when attraction is present, something changes. Looking at you becomes harder to break away from. The gaze holds a little longer than necessary, just enough to create a shift in the atmosphere between you. It stops feeling like simple conversation and starts feeling like something unspoken is happening underneath it. And the most important detail is not just the length of the eye contact, but what happens right after it breaks. When he finally looks away, does he drop his gaze downward? Because looking down after a long moment of eye contact often signals that something inside him shifted, that the moment affected him enough that he needed a second to reset before returning to normal. It's brief, almost unnoticeable, but very revealing because it isn't something people consciously control. If you've seen that moment happen, it wasn't random, it was a reaction. The fourth sign is unconscious mirroring. This is when he starts copying your behavior without realizing it. You lean in slightly, and later he does the same. You slow your speech, and his rhythm adjusts to match yours. You laugh, and he responds in sync. You shift your posture, and after some time, he ends up in a similar position. This isn't something people actively decide to do. It happens automatically when someone feels connected and engaged. The body naturally starts aligning itself with the other person. And because it's unconscious, it's difficult to fake consistently. It simply happens when there is real attention and connection in the interaction. So when you start noticing that his behavior subtly matches yours, it's not coincidence, it's reflection. His energy in the room doesn't stay separate from yours. It moves with it. When you're warm, open, and relaxed, he seems to soften too. When you go a little quieter, something in him also settles. It's like his whole presence is adjusting in real time, responding to shifts in you that nobody else might even notice. This is what it looks like when two nervous systems are actually attuned to each other. Not just being polite, not just sharing space, but subtly tracking each other on a level that goes beyond conversation. And the important thing here is that this kind of response isn't something you can consciously control. You can choose to smile more, you can decide to make eye contact, you can even intentionally move closer, but you can't consistently fake that deep, continuous adjustment to someone else's energy across an entire interaction. That only happens when there is a natural pull underneath it. So when you notice that his mood, rhythm, and presence seem to follow yours, when his speech slows down or speeds up depending on your own, when his energy feels like it's quietly syncing with you specifically, that is not random. That is his system responding to you in real time. It's a kind of quiet alignment that doesn't need words to exist. The fifth sign is that he keeps extending the time he spends with you even when he didn't originally plan to. This one is easy to miss because on the surface it looks normal.
He said he'd stay for an hour, but somehow 2 hours pass and he's still there. The jacket is on, the keys are in his hand. Everything signals that he's about to leave, and yet he doesn't.
Instead, something keeps him there. The conversation continues. A new topic appears. A small pause turns into another question. The moment that should naturally end somehow stretches forward again. It's not about him being disorganized or bad with time. It's about the fact that leaving means the distance between you becomes real again. And something in him doesn't fully want that moment to happen yet. Being around you feels steady in a way that's hard to explain even to himself. So he delays the ending. He finds small reasons to stay. He extends the interaction just a little longer each time. And when that becomes a pattern, when evenings consistently run longer than expected, that's not accidental. That's choice. Quiet, unspoken choice to remain in your presence instead of moving away from it. The sixth sign is that his body keeps turning toward you even when the situation doesn't require it. That is attention expressed physically, the body revealing what the mind is focused on even when nothing is being said out loud. And the body is often more honest than speech in moments like this. The seventh sign is that he reacts to your touch differently than he reacts to anyone else's. This one is extremely quick, which is why it's so often overlooked. The next time you lightly touch him in a casual way, pay attention to what happens immediately afterward. Not later, right in that first second. Does he pause slightly? Does his expression change just for a moment? Does he become a bit still, like his system just registered something more than simple contact? Does he glance down at where you touched him, or look at you in a way that feels subtly different from his normal expression? Because when attraction is present, touch doesn't land as neutral. It registers deeper. It interrupts his internal flow for a moment before he resets. It's not something dramatic. It's not obvious. It's a fraction of a pause, a small shift in awareness that happens before he regains composure. And if you compare that reaction to how he responds when other people casually touch him, the difference becomes very clear. Something changes specifically when it's you. That difference is not imagination, it's reaction. The eighth sign is that he creates small moments of closeness that don't need to exist except that he wants them to. This is less about one behavior and more about a pattern that builds over time. He remembers small details you mentioned long ago and brings them back into conversation, showing he didn't just hear you, but actually kept them in mind. He shares things that remind him of you, whether it's a place, a song, or something small from his day. He suggests doing things that involve just the two of you, even when including others would have been easier or more natural. He builds small references between you, tiny shared moments, quiet inside connections that slowly create a sense of us that doesn't exist with everyone else. And that's the key difference. People don't naturally build those shared spaces with everyone. It doesn't happen through politeness or coincidence. It happens when someone is mentally and emotionally placing value on a specific connection. He is not just passing time with you. He is constructing familiarity with you, layer by layer, moment by moment, in ways that feel small individually, but meaningful when added together. And when you see that pattern clearly, it becomes obvious that something is being formed, even before anything is ever spoken out loud. And what gets lost in that process isn't lack of feeling, it's hesitation, timing, interpretation, because the truth is his body was already saying it. Every small movement toward you, every touch that lasted a fraction longer, every moment of eye contact that stretched and then dropped downward, every extra minute he stayed, every time his body naturally turned in your direction, every reaction that felt slightly different when it was you, all of it was already communicating something real. In the end, everything comes down to this simple truth. People reveal far more through their behavior than through their words. When someone is genuinely drawn to you, it doesn't stay hidden. It shows up in the way they move closer without thinking, the way their attention lingers a little longer, the way their body responds to your presence even when nothing is being said. The problem is not that the signs aren't there. It's that most people are taught to only trust spoken confirmation. So they overlook what is already happening in plain sight. And in that gap between what is felt and what is said, confusion grows, doubts take over, and real connections often get lost before they ever have a chance to develop. But once you learn to read those subtle patterns, presence, timing, energy, reaction, you stop relying only on words. You start understanding what is actually being communicated underneath them. And suddenly, a lot of uncertainty disappears. So the real takeaway is this: don't ignore what is consistently shown through actions. Because when someone's behavior repeatedly points in one direction, that is already an answer in itself.
If this video gave you clarity, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss what's coming next on ***, Decode His Mind ***. And if you understood the message in today's breakdown, comment the word signal below. I want to see who's really reading between the lines.